Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin, episode 89. And we are getting into our new routine finally of Saturdays where we did it last week. We're doing it this week where we train and then we record.
Yes.
Which makes things very, very convenient. The home gym is coming along pretty rapidly, actually. Like it's starting to take shape. Power Rack arrived on Wednesday.
Last Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday.
2 weeks ago.
And you resurrected it and had your first workout in the new rack when?
Wednesday night this week. So it came a week ago this past Wednesday. We got it assembled. I lied. Thursday.
Okay.
I worked on it Thursday. I typically don't work out on Thursdays because of training at the fire department, but I got off work early, finished it up from the night before, and got it all, like you said, erected and put together, and then did a good shoulder workout on it. It was fun.
Yeah, and then we did the same thing today, where we hit a shoulder workout. Part was in the garage, part was in the sun, part was in the front yard.
Yes.
And then here we are. So good shoulder workout, man.
Yes,
I really enjoy, we beat the dead horse last week about it, just enjoy having minimal material and being able to kind of foster some ingenuity with how we go about things. Like if you have minimal equipment, you're going to have to be maximally creative.
Right.
And now we have a little bit less of a need for that because we have a full power rack, which has a Smith machine attached to the back of it. So there's some Smith machine. It's got cable attachments and everything, plate-loaded cable attachments.
Which are cool. That's something I've never used before, is the plate-loaded cables, and I kind of like them.
Yeah, a lot of them, at least the ones that I've seen in public gyms, are all very, very old, where it's like the actual plate ones. Just because it's a lot easier for people, more convenient, where you have the plate selector, where you can kind of select which plate you're on, versus actually loading the weights on itself. But realistically, is more convenient, better? Probably not. No. So, especially when you're talking about gym setting and working out. So that was our training session for the day. And here we are.
Yeah.
So remember last week we talked about, and this is something that I wanted to bring up right from the get-go, because I'm sure it'll kind of engender a little bit of a lengthy conversation between you and I. Last week we talked about prioritizing happiness.
Yes.
And what are you going to do to prioritize happiness? And I remember at the very end we said to our listeners, like, that's kind of a challenge going forward through the week, is find a way that you can prioritize happiness in your own life and then bring it back the following week and think about if you did that or not. And I can most certainly say that I, for sure, prioritized happiness this past week.
I definitely
in several avenues.
Yeah, I was going to say me too. Multiple different levels. Some people probably wouldn't think some of the stuff that I made sure was a priority would engender happiness. But, it does for me. So, you go first.
So, for me, first and foremost, not foremost in regards to important, but initially I went to South Carolina, to Myrtle Beach, and had a little bit of like relaxation time, and just to be able to get away and rest on the beach and eat whatever I wanted and sleep how I wanted, and just be able to de-escalate and kind of take my energy down a little bit, not be, like we've talked about before, in combat mode the whole time. Just because, with everything that I do, it's very easy to get caught up in being super high energy all the time, which kind of, it wears on you over time. And especially me, sometimes my sleep is not optimal. Ironically, I preach the importance of sleep all the time to people. So I needed to take a step back, and it was really good for the first 2 days. And then unfortunately, I started getting the itch to come back to work, because it's like, I can't just lie around and not do anything. So it's really difficult, actually, the last couple of days to be able to stay down there and kind of, brute my way through vacation, so to speak. So it sounds like a paradox, but it was actually troublesome at times because I didn't have the workload. I had an athlete that's currently in prep, and we're doing like a string of multiple shows. So I was in communication with him, but other than that, I stayed off of social media largely.
Yeah.
Didn't use my phone for a whole lot, canceled my trainings for most of the week and just was able to de-escalate. So that was nice because that allowed me to pursue a little bit of happiness. And then I also had kind of a lengthy, I don't really want to overstate it because it's not like it was like a heart-to-heart or emotional or anything, but a lengthy email exchange with my coach, Austin, who was a previous guest on the show, and kind of went about possibly reprioritizing my own progress in the gym above not necessarily above everybody else, but at least level with everyone else, because, I've talked about it before, how I've kind of put bodybuilding on the back burner. I still work out and still do the things, but it's completely different. I wouldn't even, at least the lifestyle that I've been living lately, wouldn't even call myself a bodybuilder. I'm just someone who likes to work out in a sense. I was haphazard and not super consistent with my meals, was definitely not consistent with my sleep, wasn't very consistent with my training. The opportunities that I had in the gym were, maximal effort, but I needed to make sure that I didn't take any time off. And, I did, from the gym, from my nutrition, from my sleep, of course. And then it shows at a lack of progress. I think that I'm at the point now where I can maintain what I have pretty clearly and pretty, not easily, but to a degree, at least what I would consider minimal effort.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm at the point where if I want to progress, I need to progress. And Austin and I had a lengthy email exchange, and I basically said, these next few years are going to be do or die. And he kind of alluded to that initially, because he said, you're 31, you're not getting younger, obviously referring to the fact that I do have quality years ahead of you, especially in bodybuilding, because it's not really an athletic skill. So you don't deteriorate your body that early unless you don't take care of it. So I still have some good years left, but why wait to compete? So I told him that, I've had a couple athletes in prep lately, and I kind of have the itch to get back. So I'm going to compete again. Don't know a show, but I told him that I think it would help to have something set in stone.
Yeah.
Even if it's a year and a half from now. So that way I have okay, this is my off season. I can go through a recon phase or a mini cut here. I can continue to bulk here, and then I can start my prep at X weeks out. And that should put us in a good position or whatever. So he was kind of on the same page. And really it boiled down to me just kind of needing to have a conversation with myself. I kind of had the conversation through him, but it was more so me basically saying, dude, you got to get yourself together a little bit from that regard.
Yeah.
Just because, I'm not we talked about it before. If you're not happy, most people in your life aren't going to be happy. And it's hard to give yourself to everyone if you're not making yourself happy.
Right.
So this, I guess, would be my way of saying that I'm back on my bodybuilding train, so to speak. So I got home Thursday and Friday and today. So this is essentially day 2 of my re-evolution of myself.
Yes.
I'm coming back out of retirement. So we haven't picked out a show yet. It's something that, because Austin is actually in Las Vegas at at the USA's. So he has a client competing at the USA's right now, who's hopefully going to turn pro tonight. So he and I haven't been able to actually sit down and kind of sift through these things. So I told him that, we'd touch base later, but that's what we're going to do, basically, just kind of be out of retirement, so to speak.
Yes.
Because people, you ask me all the time, and people are like, when are you going to compete? When are you going to compete? And I can't compete. Here's the vicious cycle is I can't compete unless I'm 100%, but I haven't been 100% because I'm not competing. You know what I mean? So it's I don't want to compete because I can't focus 100%.
I get
but
it.
Until I make the decision to compete, I won't focus 100%.
Exactly. So you have to make yourself focused to get to it.
Yeah. And my only thing is not so, obviously I don't make excuses. That's kind of the moniker, but mine is more focus driven. It's not time. When you look at bodybuilding, it doesn't constitute that much of your time. It doesn't require a lot of minutes allocated to it in the whole. Obviously you have to prepare your meals, and you have to eat the meals, and you have to train, and you have to sleep. But those are things that normal people are doing anyway. A lot of people go to the gym. A lot of people, obviously everyone sleeps and everyone eats.
Right.
So mine is a mental focus is what I was lacking. It's not the time, but I would get so caught up with my trainings that I would miss a meal or have a meal late, and then I told Austin a lot of my issue was sleeping patterns, because I was working so much that I wasn't getting any sleep. And then, I would sleep through up until I had to wake up, which obviously is super early in the morning. And there were days where I couldn't get my food together in time. And I had to miss a couple meals there, try to replace certain meals. And it was just a disaster, all stemming from me kind of burning the candle at both ends.
Right.
And I know that I'm a much happier and healthier person when I'm competing. So I feel like that I'm back on the train. So I feel much happier now that I feel like I've kind of faced the ghosts of failure in a sense and lack of progression.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of looked myself in the mirror. You and I had a lengthy conversation that would have been nice to record for the podcast, but we talked, was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Just kind of about the same thing. And I said, I got to get back on the train, which this is day 2. So I'm not patting myself on the back for day 2 because I want to be at year 2 or whatever of consistency here, but that's where we lie. So sorry for that little monologue.
No, you can't get to year 2 without day 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah. So I feel like I've definitely prioritized happiness because I kind of identified things in my life that make me happy, such as bodybuilding. And everybody knows that, man. Everybody tells me, like, dude, you're so happy when you're training. Like, obviously, when you get late into prep,
you're miserable.
Yeah, you get angry and miserable. Hungry and every... But at the same time, the process, especially in the off season, like that's fun. That's when you should have fun. So, and plus my training takes on a whole new level of purpose. Like I always train hard, but there's a difference when it's prep versus not prep.
Right.
And I've been guilty in the past of not treating my off seasons as diligently as I treat my contest prep.
Yeah.
And the people that do that are the people that don't go up a weight class ever. And they stay in the same weight class because in the off season they're not growing and progressing like they should. So here's to day 2.
Day 2.
That's pretty much my pursuit of happiness in this past week so far.
Yeah. Well, mine actually parallels very closely, and we didn't really talk about this so much together, like off the air. But you know, I had a couple lengthy conversations, like you said. Me and you talked yesterday for, I would say, the better part of an hour and a half or 2 hours almost.
Yeah.
And earlier in the day, actually, I talked to another friend about just my unhappiness with where I'm at. To be like frank, I guess, a little over a year and a half ago, I was 299 pounds. So to be sitting very solid at 360 is bothering me. And part of that was done on purpose. And then part of that was done by accident. Just, letting time get by, which everybody keeps telling me I should give myself a pass. I have a newborn. She's, almost 6 months old. We've never had kids, a lot of firsts in the last 6-8 months, but that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, it's kind of like the same boat. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. But it's kind of like how I said, the sleep, the eating, and the training.
Right.
Those, with the exception of training, that's eating and sleeping are things that everybody does. So sleep, allocate a little bit more time, meals, make sure they're better, and then train a little bit harder because a lot of people go to the gym, and I think that would, because that's where I'm at. That solves my problems.
Yes, exactly. So through them conversations, I realized that I ran a 5K almost a month ago, or just about at a month ago. We ran that 5K, a
couple days short,
and I like competing. I don't know that 5Ks are my thing, but right now that is the area that I can compete and I'm not competing with anybody else, but it's something I can compete with myself and do and train for. And now that the gym is, like you said, coming together really solid, like now there's no reason I have to skip a workout. Like even if nobody comes, I don't need a spotter for certain things. I got it with the power rack. So I've trained consistently this week every day, and on the way home we had an eye doctor's appointment today. I was talking to my wife about, I need to prioritize doing more cardio. Even though I enjoy lifting, cardio is where I lose weight.
Yeah.
And we just talked back and forth, and through that conversation, I realized that I'm making, when I can't get out and do cardio itself, all my workouts have been, I'd say 90% of my workouts are based around cardio. So
I think it's natural for people, especially in the gym space, to gravitate towards things they like. I mean, that's us in life. But herein lies the problem is, you hear it a lot where people say, the workout you need to be doing is probably the one you're not doing.
Right.
With exercise selection, or because, again, if you're intelligent, you can talk your way out of everything.
Right,
you can
exactly.
say, oh, well, I don't do squats because my lower back. It could be, no, your lower back's just weak and you need to strengthen. You need to be doing squats or whatever. So, that's great that you like lifting, but the comparison that I would use with myself is I hate force feeding mass amounts of food all freaking day. But it's something that with my metabolism, with my biology and my physiology, that I have to do.
Right.
And that was one of the things that Austin said to me when we had our little email exchange for my update, was he said, how uncomfortable are you willing to be?
Yeah.
He said, I don't have a problem being uncomfortable in the gym with my training, with my time, lacking sleep, I physically can push through a lot. I feel like I would consider myself mentally and spiritually and physically a very tough person.
I agree.
But the one thing that I have a tough time pushing through is like the physical illness that comes along with consuming all the food I have to freaking eat. And he told me, he said straight up, like, maybe you, and this was not him being pointed or trying to be motivational. This was just the reality of the situation. He said, maybe you can't handle that amount of uncomfortable.
Right.
And he said, it doesn't make you weak. He said, it doesn't make you a sissy or anything like that. He said, that just means that your body may be just not able to handle it. And, it was kind of one of those reality checks where it's like, you know what, maybe you're right, but I'm not willing to take that bet. I'm going to make sure that I can look back and say I did everything I could to be to be maximizing my potential without minimizing my health.
Right, exactly.
So I think that it's the same thing. It would be a good analogy to compare with you is the same thing with the cardio. Like you may not like it all the time. I mean, I know you like to a degree, but it's basically like a scale. Like you put two things on the scale, the weightlifting and the cardio. If you only have time to do one,
I'm going to lift.
You're going to lift. Yeah. And that's, that's naturally people are going to gravitate again towards the things that they like.
Right. So I guess the long or the short of it is, I guess for me pursuing happiness this week in the gym setting would be I prioritize going, coming down them steps and putting in an hour and a half and putting some music on and staying off my phone, staying off of social media, like you said, and just get that hour in and be in my space. This is my sanctuary. It's my happy place. So, I often refer to it, like if you follow me on the gram, I often refer to it as the lab. It's where it goes down. Like whatever it is, that's just where it's happening. Because this is what makes me happy. It's one of the things that make me happy, I should say. And then the other thing that I did was I made it a point all week to every single day take at least 10 minutes. Because during the week it's hard with our work schedules and the baby is going to daycare. So oftentimes she is in bed when I get off work, or I am in the gym when she gets home from daycare, and by the time I'm done, she's going to bed. I don't get to see her very much. I've made it a point to take 10 to 15 minutes and actually play with her and get to feed her, because she's eating whole foods now. Not whole foods, but, baby foods.
Yeah.
Getting to actually feed her that, because I feed her plenty of bottles and change plenty of diapers. Don't worry about that. But a lot of the times I don't get to feed her, with a spoon. And there's a connection there, you know what I mean? Because, like, she's used to you feeding her a bottle, but you're giving her something different. But I've made it a point to try to get to do that every single day. And I just feel, that relax almost at the end of the week. Like, this is the last workout for the week, technically. Tomorrow's supposed to be a rest day. And so the week feels like it's, completed. Mm-hmm. Other than the grass that we're staring at that is a foot tall because of all the rain. All the tasks have been, accomplished, and that's the kind of stuff that I find happiness in.
Yeah, I think that for me, because I am very adamant about this, that one of the best feelings in the world is accomplishment and productivity.
Yeah.
Like if you're productive throughout the day, like, gosh, you feel so good. Hence, like we talked about all the time, like getting up early.
Yeah.
Like if you get up early and do things and you have all this stuff done and it's not even 7 a.m. yet, that sets the tone for the rest of the day. How you start the day often dictates how you finish the day.
Exactly.
How you live through the day. So it's nice to have that feeling of accomplishment because, like you said, it's going to make you happy. So I have another question that I kind of want to bring up, but let's go to a commercial break and we'll come back. And I really want to touch on this because it's one of those questions I don't know if we can identify a definitive answer, but it'll be a head scratcher for sure. So let's go to a commercial break and we'll talk more when we come back.
As listeners of the Chasing Dreams podcast, we know that you demand the highest quality at all times. If you're interested in quality, look no further than Beast Mode Baking. Beast Mode Baking aims to bring the highest quality, creative, and of course delicious baked goods to your home with nationwide shipping. All orders need to be pre-ordered to ensure they're packed fresh and shipped out to you as soon as possible. Beast Mode Baking offers a flat rate of $15 for shipping due to the size and weight of the cookies and doughs. So if you're interested in Beast Mode Baking, please contact CEO Shannon Knorr. That's at SKNORR13 on Instagram and order your delicious baked goods today, because every time you support them, you're supporting the podcast as well.
And we're back from our commercial break. So prior to the break, I said that I had a question that I wanted to pose to you. So we talked about pursuing happiness or prioritizing happiness and doing what makes you happy. And then we also briefly touched on doing the things that you don't want to do. So within the scope of a day, or within the scope of a week or a month or a year, whatever your timeline is, do you think that you can develop, if you're trying to suggest to yourself or to someone else, how do you develop a ratio of good to bad, like comfort to discomfort? Do you know what I mean? So like, you obviously need to do things to rest, okay, again, we like to make analogies all the time. The one analogy that I would use here, or the comparison, would be metaphorically speaking in gym terms. So you want to push your body. You want to break down muscle tissue through training. You want to tax your nervous system a little bit, tax your musculoskeletal system a little bit. And you have to push your body and have your body undergo an insane amount of stress. But then that's digging the ditch. Now you got to dig your way out of the ditch so your body can come back stronger. So how do you allow the body to come back stronger? You relax. You go through different recovery modalities. You feed it nutritious foods. You obviously sleep.
Right.
So those are comfortable things. So you go this discomfort, you go comfort, and you try to balance them. And I wonder if we can create kind of a life scenario where you paint a picture for someone on what their day is supposed to look like. And, how much uncomfortable or how many uncomfortable things should you do versus comfortable things? Because I feel like it would be a very unique blend there,
Yeah. So I guess there's like different levels of an answer that I could try to come up with. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess it would depend on how uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
Like, are we talking like David Goggins uncomfortable,
Yes.
where you're trying to destroy your body? Or are we talking like, I don't want to mow the lawn because it's really hot out, but I got to make sure that I get it done?
Yes. I see what you're saying. So I tend to lean towards David Goggins, destroy my body, because that's how I'm going to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be smarter and mentally stronger because of it. So that's a little bit harder. And I'm not comparing myself to David Goggins by any stretch. Obviously, he's a psycho.
Yeah, no human should be able to do
an
that.
awesome psycho, but he's a crazy person.
So you think you're leaning more towards the uncomfortable scenarios outweighing the comfortable scenarios?
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So my initial, when you first said, a comparison between comfortable and uncomfortable, I immediately went to the fact that you just went on vacation. So vacation is comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? But it's what, 4, 5, 6 days tops. There's 365 in a year. So I think that your uncomfortable time should vastly outweigh. If you want to look at it at a year's pace, you go on vacation for a week or two, the rest of the year should not be comfortable, other than your sleep time, and that's about it. So then I think you could break it down like that, or in quarters, a quarter of the year. So like, I don't know that I would want to do it like that, but like from a diet standpoint, I think you should follow a very strict diet all year long, an uncomfortable diet, because you shouldn't do food for fun. Like, period. In my opinion, that's how I got to be 526 pounds, because food was purely for fun. It was not for fuel.
Yeah, going too much towards comfort is what landed you in an uncomfortable situation, ironically.
Yeah, so exactly. So if you are living your life uncomfortably through food, and you want to have, Christmas and eat and do, with the family and do kind of relaxed things and eat whatever it is you want, the cookies and the cakes and the pies, for a day or two, that's cool. But the rest of the year, until you get to, say, Thanksgiving, or, your birthday, But other than that, like I think you should be uncomfortable more than you are comfortable. Like, and then you could take it to the day. The average person, they say, should sleep 8 hours a day. I think that's a little crazy. And in my opinion, I think that's sleeping in an excess.
I don't think that people, at least the people that I surround myself with, gosh, maybe I'm making excuses here, but like a lot of people don't have that time.
I don't have that time.
Yeah, so
if I want to to go back to before the commercial there, to pursue my happiness,
yep.
I can't sleep 8 hours. The days that I do, I don't get it to go to the gym.
Yep.
Once a month when I, turn my alarm off on a Saturday and I sleep in till 8, for one, I feel like dog crap for the whole day because like in the morning, oh man, I'm rested. But then, an hour goes by and I'm tired because I'm like, there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I should have got so much more done before now. But anyways, I guess what I was saying is like 24 hours in a day. If you sleep 4 of them, you should have that leaves you 20 hours in the day to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you're most comfortable and most vulnerable in your bed. And that's the other thing. Like comfortability, being comfortable is vulnerability. When you're relaxed and you don't see a deer that's at a full sprint getting caught or killed every day. Unless it runs out in front of traffic, that's a freak thing. But in nature, you don't see a gazelle get caught by a cheetah when it's at a full sprint. You get a gazelle get caught by a cheetah because it's bending down, drinking out of a watering hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, comfortability is not healthy. Like, it's not, in my opinion. Like, I think we often try to get to that, like with wealth, with like status. I want to have this nice house, and like I don't mind that I have not the nicest house on the block, or that my yard, even though it's making me uncomfortable because I like a nice cut yard, but like I'm looking at that yard and I'm like, man, that really irritating me. But what all did I get done because I didn't cut that grass to make me that status feel? You know what I mean? So like chasing comfortability is not a goal of mine. It never will be.
Yeah.
It used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be something that I wanted. I want to get to a place like before we had kids, before we started having kids, we used to say we want to have a good jobs and have like, comfortable, have a nice comfortable nest egg in the bank, have nice cars and have all these nice things and be ready. Well, ready is like relaxed and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, no. So I don't suggest anybody prioritize comfort over discomfort. I don't know. I don't know if that really answers what your question is or not.
No, I think it definitely does because you don't expect, like when you throw out a question like that, you don't expect to ever, at least I didn't intend for it to be like an algorithm that you can perfectly compute. You need this ratio of discomfort or this amount of comfort or whatever. I was just curious as to how you find balance with those things because
I try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the scale. You know how like they say to your tipping point? So like if you have a board sticking out off of a wall that's not on a fulcrum, like there's a board sticking out and you push out cans of soda to the end or rocks, said rocks on the end, and the board starts to tip. At what point does it fall over? I'm the kind of guy that wants to stack the rocks across it evenly so it doesn't ever fall. But once it does, that's when I maybe you get to that tipping point, and as the board starts to fall, you pick that last rock off. So you get comfortable for just a second, just to, okay, take a deep breath, and now let's get back after it.
Well, I think that there's something to be said about people not knowing how far they can go too with different things.
Right.
So like, especially from the training side of things, I've been listening to one of the gripes of, it kind of goes full circle where there was a period of time recently over the past several years where training methodologies were very, very strongly oriented towards recovery. So doing different recovery methods took precedence almost over the training itself.
Right.
So like everybody, like, the person that goes to the gym for an hour and spends 45 minutes doing warm up and rehab and mobility work and stretching and foam rolling, and which has its place, but then they do a 15-minute workout.
Right.
So that can't really shouldn't outweigh the actual training session, and if it needs to, that's another story. But if you feel like your warm up needs to exceed your training time, then there's something wrong that needs addressed.
Yeah.
Like nervous system wise or orthopedically speaking or whatever. But anyway, it kind of went to where it was all recovery based, and now it's come full circle where a lot of like elite trainers or elite, athletes are always preaching the stop being afraid of overtraining. Like overtraining isn't something that happens in an acute scenario.
Right.
Like you can make, like, I guess it's probably a misnomer because it's not true overtraining, but you can push it too far in the gym and what happens? Maybe you throw up or maybe you black out or pass out because you're hypoglycemic but that then once you are done throwing up or once you come back to consciousness, you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. So everything's okay. True overtraining happens systemically. Yeah. So
over time,
an unbelievable amount of training, an unbelievable lack of sleep, probably coupled with poor nutrition as well, that leads to a systemic issue where you're chronically stressed, and it happens over, like you said, a long period of time. So I think that sometimes we get so focused on avoiding discomfort because we're told that we should to a degree, but most people can get very, very uncomfortable and be pretty resilient. Like I did an interview on another podcast with Dr. Edwin Adams, who has the Aesthetics of Leadership podcast, which that was actually my second interview because I did one last year, I believe. And we just kind of had some natural dialogue back and forth, and the conversation eventually transitioned into a lengthy discussion about resiliency and instilling resiliency in kids and establishing resiliency in your own life. Like how do you go about callousing yourself and toughening yourself up?
Yeah.
And I told one of the things that I mentioned was just doing things that are difficult. Like I said that I don't want to overstate bodybuilding because you're lifting weights and trying to get muscles so you can go pose in your underwear. Like it's very, very basic. Right. But doing the diet, doing the training, that taught me how to be resilient and how to do things that are really, really hard, do them very, very consistently over a long period of time,
right,
just to see little results.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I think that it's important. And I think it's a good thing that it seems like, at least in the fitness world, things are transitioning back to doing difficult stuff.
This isn't even just fitness though, for me. Like, in my opinion, it's like, last week I said I've been drinking a lot of sugar-free energy drinks as my diet kind of relaxed, and literally needed it. It felt like I needed it for energy.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm not going to drink energy drinks no more. Check. Not doing it. So back to coffee and water, Gatorade. And it was not very comfortable getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning the first 2 days of this week and working 12 hours with no significantly higher amounts of caffeine. Like I drank a thermos of coffee, but most people drink a thermos of coffee. Not most people. A lot of coffee drinkers drink a lot of coffee a day. And so a lot of them drink energy drinks. I'm one of them. I'll drink coffee and energy drinks and then pre-workout. So I took a lot, and I stopped drinking pre-workout. Most this week I didn't use any pre-workout.
Yeah.
I did today because I knew we were going to be dumb. But yeah, so that was just something I did to be uncomfortable.
This is more like Eastern philosophy coming out at play here, but I think that biology knows best.
Yeah.
So if you have, and this is me kind of going back to fitness undertones here, but if you have issues in your life that you need to synthetically take care of, so if you have a lack of energy, treat the cause, not the symptom.
Right.
So if you're tired, that's a symptom of something being awry in your body. So don't treat the symptom of being tired. Treat the cause of being tired.
Yeah, get some more sleep.
What is your sleep like?
Eat
what
better.
is your nutrition like? What are your hydration levels? Do you need to get blood work? Do you have a hormonal issue?
Right.
Figure out what the cause of these problems is, or cause of these problems are. Could be coming from multiple avenues, but figure those out. Don't just try to continue to throw solutions at symptoms.
Right.
And again, that's kind of more of an Eastern model than a Western model, because Western model is treating the symptom.
Yeah.
here, I'm going to give you this medication because you have this wrong with you.
Right.
It could possibly cause this, so I'm going to give you this medication to combat that. And then you come back and you have this issue, so I'm going to give you this medication, instead of just, preaching the importance of exercise and diet.
Exactly.
Not that I'm saying that, I'm not trying to undermine any physicians or healthcare professionals or anything like that, but I've seen that happen before.
It's like a lot.
Yeah, and it's
way more than you would think, and most people think.
It's not just a healthcare thing, it's a societal thing.
Right.
And I think that you could get into an even deeper argument about technology and comfort and all that kind of stuff, but really I think that we need to continue to drive focus on, with especially like that, is if you have some discomfort that is really limiting, essentially what you get is you get discomfort that's limiting the amount of discomfort you can undergo.
Right.
So like I can't have really uncomfortable, hardcore, intense workouts if I'm super, super sleepy. So like discomfort limits discomfort. Yes. And if you have that, I think that you try to address the cause of the original discomfort that's causing you the inability to get more discomfort, if that makes sense, I guess.
And it's like, we've talked about David Goggins already once, or twice technically. Not to be a David Goggins fanboy, but, if you've read his book, he talks about the accountability mirror and spending time being uncomfortable in the accountability mirror. And I think that's like hyper important. When I'm driving down the road, because everybody knows I'm a truck driver and I spend lots of time by myself, a lot of times I bet you people think I'm singing or dancing, but I'm really screaming at myself driving down the road, like what the heck? What are you doing? Like whatever it is, even if I'm doing it right, even if from the outside looking in, I'm doing everything I should be doing, I'm still trying to convince myself that I'm not, because I don't want to get comfortable. Like comfort breeds complacency, and I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
So like. If that's something you need, spend some time in that mirror and tell yourself about yourself. You know what I mean? Like I oftentimes will tell people, because let me tell you about yourself. Sometimes that can be feel like you're gonna be telling them negative qualities. I usually use that as a positive. Like I want to tell you about yourself, but how great you are. But myself, when I'm telling myself about myself, oof.
Well, I think you need to know your audience too, because as a trainer and a teacher and a coach and all these things that I do, I find myself, the most important part of my job is knowing how to communicate with people. Mm-hmm. And part of that lies in understanding what type of buttons need to be pushed or don't need to be pushed, need to be avoided completely or whatever. Where I have people, and I've used this reference before, talking about kids. I say that kids need, when they're in school, they generally tend to need the opposite of what they get at home. So if a kid goes home to a broken household where there's a lot of violence and yelling or drug use or whatever, generally they tend to need love and affection and acceptance and calmness within a school setting. Likewise, if you have people that are on the opposite end of that, where they have a very, not that there's anything, I'm not trying to negatively associate anything with a loving household, but sometimes if they come from a household that's coddling, yeah, I like that, that's better, then they need a little bit of tough love. They need a little bit of accountability, and mommy and daddy can't bail them out for everything, and that's a tough conversation that you need to have. But you need to know which people need what. So like you being an overly positive person all the time, that's just who you are. That's kind of your thing, is being upbeat with people. And I think that sometimes, and it's not with you in particular, with anybody, there are people that don't need that positivity.
Right.
You want to give it to them because by nature, that's how you are. You're a loving, caring person. But sometimes, and you have this conversation with kids all the time, is if I really love you, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Exactly.
Sometimes those are different things. Like I can be nice to you all day, but there are times when it's going to be in your best interest for me not to be nice to you right now.
Yeah.
Because of accountability purposes or a little bit more of a direct communication line or whatever it is. I think that you just need to understand your audience when you're addressing them with positivity or with negativity.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm definitely like the person who, I don't need you to tell me I'm great. I need you to tell me where I suck.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to obsess about where I suck. But then when I start to obsess so much about where I'm not good that I let the other go, you need to tell me that. Like, hey, you're off track again. Let's go.
Believe it or not, I think that I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
I think that I benefit from both, but if I had to lean towards one, I would actually say that I think that I need a little bit more positivity than negativity, because oftentimes if you're telling me something negative about myself or about me or my situation or my work ethic or my habits or anything, it's not something that I don't already know or recognize or think about. Like, take the bodybuilding thing. Like, it's one thing for somebody to say, dude, you need to get on track. But, like, I know that. Like, you're not telling me anything I don't know.
Yeah.
And you telling me this is not inspiring me
to get on track
any more than I already need to do it. I just, maybe I need to, like, rearrange my schedule or whatever. So I think that I'm a pretty good blend. I'd like to think that I take criticism pretty well and I take compliments pretty well. And then, you know, the other side of me thinks, well, maybe I'm just saying that because I like positive comments.
Yeah.
You know, maybe subconsciously or conscientiously, I know that I like being complimented. So I just say, oh, I need more positivity. You know, maybe I don't. Yeah. I don't know. But I think that at this point in my life, I don't think that anybody, I feel like I've gained a lot of wisdom over the last couple of years of working with people and doing what I do, that I think that I've gotten to the point where I don't have it figured out completely, but I have myself figured out pretty closely.
Yeah, it's I know myself. Like, I know what I need and what I need to do and what to do. Sometimes I just need a nudge to do it.
I agree with that. I think that's a pretty good place to end it. The important thing going forward is finding that ratio of being uncomfortable and being comfortable, with the uncomfortability kind of taking the precedence over being comfortable. And I think the other thing is understanding, not only with yourself, but with other people, the kind of like the comfort and the discomfort is words. Yeah. You know, what comfortable things and positive things do you need to say to people? What negative or accountability things do you need to say to people? And then how do you balance those? Because I don't think that you can identify people as needing just one or just the other.
Right.
I think that one is going to outweigh the other, which is kind of, I just want to clarify that, because I'm not saying that someone only needs positive comments from you or somebody only needs negative comments or accountability comments from you. I think that everybody's a blend of both, but sometimes one's going to outweigh the other. And exactly. I think that you just need to be a really good communicator to find out what the people in your life need and how your words are going to benefit them.
And I guess kind of like it's important to circle back to months and months ago, we talked about doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, be like that, what you were saying there is like, you need to understand your audience and the people that are in your space. But if they are the person that needs to hear a hard conversation, do it.
Yep.
Like, do not be afraid to allow somebody, like, don't be so afraid that you're going to allow somebody to fail because you won't say something that's going to hurt their feelings.
Correct. Because you're going to hurt them even
physically
more if you don't allow that conversation to kind of happen.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yep.
All right. So with that, we have come to the end of another episode of the Chasing Dreams podcast with Charlie and Justin. This is episode 89.
Yes.
Creeping closer and closer to 100. We appreciate everybody that stuck around for the long haul, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Unbreakable, unstoppable, I'm pushed to the edge and take it all. I'm